One of the best video game surprises I ever had was back in 2008 when I discovered Valkyria Chronicles for the first time. Its story and strategic gameplay was incredible, and I've been following this series ever since. Unfortunately, it's been a bit of a rocky road for the series. The second title was a PSP exclusive and a step backwards in a lot of ways, and the third title was never released outside of Japan. And I should probably mention that stupid action RPG spin-off title Valkyria Revolution, which was a colossal disappointment. Apart from the boobs, absolutely nothing was memorable about it. This time around, Valkyria Chronicles 4 goes back to its roots and gives us everything we loved about the original title all those years ago. This game is a contender for the best in the series, and here's why. Our tale begins in Gallia during the Second Europa War. The main character Claude and his childhood friends Raz and Kai are members of the Federation Army's Squad E and are sent to carry out Operation Northern Cross in hope of finally ending the war. VC4's wartime themed narrative will take a fair few hours to work through, but I found great enjoyment in working my way through the story with Claude and Squad E. There are some pretty engaging moments with elements of mystery and plenty of plot twists throughout. There were also some more mature themes that surfaced towards the later parts of the game, which often made me question where my loyalties lied. I would say that the story is definitely up there with the first game, which is saying a lot. This chapter-based narrative is delivered in a comic book style. This and the entire art style is beautifully presented and recreated the vibes I had with the first title. The only issue I had with this is that there is a lot of forced switching between the cutscenes and the book interface. This kind of ruins the flow of the story, as many intense moments are just halted to return to the book, forcing you to manually select the next scene. There are sometimes 5 or 6 scenes in a row, and I would have loved to just be able to sit back and watch them rather than constantly going back and forth. For the most part, the main party members and even the villains to some extent are very likable, and they all have their own key moments to shine. Something's got to be said about Raz though, who was a bit over the top. He should seriously be named sexual harassment.
Except that I'm a man here. Don't forget it.
Like there's any chance of that. But seriously, no guy's got an ass this tight.
Despite this, Raz somehow managed to grow into a likeable character. The other playable characters are made up of the other soldiers in Squad E. While the majority of them never impact the main story directly, you instead slowly learn about them through the Squad Story's side missions, which unlock after using them enough in battle. This was a really good feature, as it not only gives your squad some depth, but it also provides incentive to experiment with all of the characters on the battlefield. This turn-based strategic gameplay is very similar to the first title. First, you choose a selection of units to complete your mission objective. Then you basically just run around with your squad dispatching enemy forces and capturing opposing camps. But there is a lot of strategy involved here, as the different unit types, terrain and weather will all impact how to proceed. Between the main missions, the side stories and the skirmishes, there are loads of missions to take on, some of which are excellently designed and really test your problem solving skills. This is particularly true if you wish to receive an A rank for each mission. The only issue I had with the mission design is with the 2-part missions. At several points I completed my current objective only to have a boss pop up out of nowhere and completely decimate my forces due to them being out of position. There is no way of knowing that this was coming, forcing me to restart the mission and often losing over 30 minutes of progress. It's almost like these missions were designed to make you die the first time around. This aside, the missions provided loads of enjoyment, making this turn-based strategic gameplay the standout feature of Valkyria Chronicles 4. If you're familiar with the VC series, you'll know what to expect with the unit types. If not, here's a quick rundown. First, there are scouts. These units have the best movement and quite a bit of range, making them perfect in scouting out the area and capturing bases. Then there are the shock troopers. This is your DPS class. While the movement is quite limited, their machine guns and flamethrowers dish out some serious damage. The engineers are a slightly weaker version of the scouts, but they are better healers and they can repair your tanks. The snipers have very limited movement, but their long range can allow for instant kill headshots. Lancers are slow, heavily armored units who exist to destroy tanks. And finally, the new unit in VC4, the Grenadiers. These long-range explosive experts pack a serious punch with their area attacks. Every one of these units will need to be used effectively to complete the mission objectives. However, I still felt that the Lancers were in need of more variety. There were only a few situations in the game for me that I chose to use them, as the firepower of my tanks and the Grenadiers were much more effective most of the time. In addition to units, you'll be able to roll out a couple of tanks into each battle. The main tank, the Hafen, is designed to destroy, while the Cactus APC is more of a unit carrier. The Cactus was an incredible addition in my opinion, as its transportation abilities made some of the lower movement units incredibly viable. This is something that the first game lacked. In addition to this, squad leaders can also command up to 2 units to follow them during their turn. This was also incredibly useful in providing more movement options for other units. To further add to this strategy, Claude can both call in help from HQ and learn loads of orders to assist his troops in battle.
Blast those tanks with everything you've got!
For instance, if you need a scout to run through a potentially dangerous open area, you may wish to use an order to increase his bullet defense first. Overall, the gameplay is awesome, with loads of different strategies that can be employed at all times. After completing each mission, you'll be rewarded with experience and cash depending on how well you performed on the battlefield. EXP can be spent leveling up your unit types and learning new orders. Money, on the other hand, can be used to upgrade your weapons and tanks. Eventually, you'll get access to different paths for your weapons, and this helps provide different options for each character. While some weapon options provided brand new strategies in battle, others didn't, such as the machine gun branch that favors accuracy over firepower. My shock troopers were always at very close range when attacking, so accuracy was never an issue, making that weapon path useless for me. Another factor that makes each character unique is their potentials, which tie in with their personalities. Allard, for instance, is an engineer who was obsessed with tanks, so he gets a bit of a stat boost when near a tank on the battlefield. Eventually, you can learn 8 potentials for each character, some positive and some negative. These potentials are a staple of the VC series, however, as with the past games, I rarely put them into consideration when selecting characters for battle, as most of them are triggered randomly or were never really the difference between life and death. I would like more of a focus on this in the future. Words cannot describe how happy I was to see Valkyria Chronicles 4 go back to its roots. Its story and overall presentation are top notch and up there with the quality of the first title. While VC4 has no glaring issues, there are a few minor things that could have been improved upon, such as the usefulness of Lancers and the fact that constantly returning to book mode ruins the flow of the storytelling. But the war-themed strategic battles is the best thing about Valkyria Chronicles 4. Customizing and choosing my units for each battle, employing loads of different strategies and aiming for the highest rank possible never got boring. These missions are well designed for the most part. I just had a little frustration when the appearance of bosses popped up mid-battle, but this wasn't that big of a deal. Valkyria Chronicles 4 did exactly what I wanted it to do and did what the series needed. My fingers are crossed that the next one is just around the corner. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. What did you think of this game? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this, hit like and sub for more RPG content. See you next time.